Starting off round two, kind of more coaching and philosophy based. Who has been the most influential figure in your life, not just sports wise, but in your whole life?
I've absolutely no. Mom, we love you. All right, I think that's an honest answer though. My mother raised us by herself, and so that I think led to the bond that we have, and obviously leads us directly here today. Our work ethic, our desire to be successful, our desire to help other people. So I think our mother, if we're talking about the grand scheme of things. We've been influenced by a lot of coaches through the years. Matt Thornton is certainly one that probably takes the highest level of influence in our lives. And it wasn't necessarily anything he taught us about the martial arts. It was teaching us sort of how to learn for ourselves. Matt coined a term called aliveness, or he didn't coin it, but he brought it into the martial arts. And the idea of constantly testing everything, the idea of having a BS meter, I think are really important concepts in how we ended up where we are today. So I would say Matt Thornton. Anyone else?
As far as an influencer of our coaching and things, then yeah, then most definitely it's Matt. It's in all the things we talk about. It's in all the ways we teach and the things we say on the mat. So I mean, there's other coaches that we've had that have certainly helped us.
Professor Travin is a constant source of
inspiration.
He just went out and won the Masters in his age group, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Someone that's been a world champion before and doesn't need to compete, but he leads from the front. He trains as hard as is a 20-year-old, and he's, I won't say how old he is, but he's older than that. So he's certainly been an inspiration the last few years to continue leading from the front.
All right, so you talked kind of about your work ethic, and what do you think the main qualities that have helped you the most as a coach?
I guess since I do the majority of the head coaching, I'll answer that first. I love coaching, and I think just like anything that you want to be good at, if you have a love for it, then you'll attack it with a drive that to me can only lead to being successful. So as a coach, I'm constantly studying coaching. I'm constantly studying coaches and how things are done in other sports. And I'm always bringing that back to here. I'm never closed-minded. I was lucky enough to have Forrest in the UFC, Rory in the UFC, other guys in the UFC, and it put me in close contact with coaches, and it opened the doors for me to ask them questions and pick their brains. And I've always ascribed to just asking questions and listening. And so you'd be really surprised. You buy a guy a cup of coffee at a Starbucks at the UFC, and he'll answer any question you need to. And so that's been a really big help for me. Just my love of coaching and love, of learning. I'm an engineer also. I mean, so I look at everything analytically. I look at everything through a research framework, a scientific framework, and I'm just constantly trying to get better at it.
All right. Anything else to add?
So a lot of my experiences as a coach, come from Adam, since, like you said, he does the majority of it. This thing I enjoy coaching just because I enjoy helping people. After I got an engineering degree, there was a period of time I went back to school to try and get a nursing degree, and realized had I been a younger man with sort of the older man responsibility, I probably would have went to medical school. And I enjoy being on a mat with anyone who has something they're trying to accomplish, whether it's one of my students, Tim, who lost 100 pounds in 10 months, or it's one of my amateur athletes that's just looking to one day go pro and have a career, getting to the UFC, things of that nature. I don't hold any of those to any higher regard than any of the others. It's just, this is what you want, and how can I help you do that? So that's sort of my drive for coaching. I might not be the best coach in the world, and I know a lot of the times the Singer brothers get sort of put together, so I get to sort of